Hello, this is Mark Hubbs with Era's Gone's Bullet Modes. Since our 44 caliber Jobson & Dow conical bullet mode has come out, there's been a lot of questions concerning whether or not the sharp point on the bullet will be deformed by the loading lever plunger of a reproduction cap ball revolver. And the short answer is yes. It's according to what brand and which model, but there is a possibility that the nose will be blunted when you load it into a cap and ball revolver. Now I'm going to talk to you a few minutes about which revolvers will do that, how to alter a plunger so it will accept a conical shaped bullet, and whether or not the whole process is really worthwhile. Stay tuned. Here's a close-up of the Jobson & Dow Reproduction bullet next to the original. As you can see, they're both very pointed and both have a very long heel. The heel was very important because it allowed the bullet to be loaded into the chamber very easily and also to attach it to a paper cartridge. The same is true for the Colt Cartridge Works 36 caliber bullet. As you can see in the next shot, the loading lever plungers on most birdie reproductions are very deep to accept the nose of this conical bullet. But this is not true for almost all of the Pietta Colt style black powder revolvers. Case in point is this Griswold & Gunnison 36 caliber revolver. You can see here that the loading lever plunger is very shallow, and it's actually designed to accept a round ball. It's not very deep, and it's not designed to take the nose of a bullet. Here you can see a Colt's Cartridge Works 36 bullet pressed into the plunger nose just to see how far it will go in. As you can see, it's not very far at all. Here we see the loading lever plunger for a Pietta 1860 Army. It also is designed for a round ball. So what do we need to do to fix this to make them accept a conical bullet? Well, the first thing to do is to assemble the tools you'll need. If you're a machinist, I'm sure you can figure out a much better way to do this than I did. But I used a hammer and punch, a vise, and a drill press, 3 successively smaller drill bits, and a Dremel tool with a bullet-shaped grinder. My first step was to center the plunger into my vise and give it a whack with my center punch and hammer. This gave me a solid place to start my drilling. My intent would be to drill into the nose with 3 successively smaller drill bits to the depth of about how deep I want the bullet to go into the plunger. Hopefully this will make more sense as we go along. First, I drill into the plunger with a drill bit that is slightly smaller than the diameter of the plunger itself. And I go in just about 1/3 of the depth that I plan on drilling overall. And this is followed with the drill bit about half the diameter of the plunger, and going in about 2/3 of the depth that I plan to drill. And last, I use a drill bit about 1/8 of an inch, and I go down to the total depth of the drilling that I plan to do. And here you can see the result. You'll see a stepped series of holes that go down to the depth of the ogive of the bullet. Dremel makes 2 different sizes of bullet-shaped grinders. One just happens to be about the size of a 36 and the other about the size of a 44. They actually start much sharper than this, but as you can see, with use they will wear down. You'll be lucky to get more than one use out of one of these bits because they will wear out quickly as you grind down those stepped drill holes that I showed you earlier. And it takes a steady hand. The Dremel will try to bounce around and fight with you when you do this part of the operation. But if you're patient, your plunger should look something like this when you get done. And you can see here that the bullet now fits nicely into the end of the plunger. It goes all the way down to the side of the ogive. And here's a bullet that I loaded with that plunger that I just altered. Loaded into the chamber and then pushed it back out. And you can see that the plunger has left a nice point on the end. As a comparison, here's an original bullet that's recovered from the battlefield that's been fired from a 36 caliber revolver, and you can see that the point on it looks remarkably similar to the one that I just showed you. One of the most popular reproduction revolvers is the Model 1860 Army. It's made by both Pietta and Uberti. They're both great guns, but they do have differences. Here is the loading lever plunger for the Pietta, and as you can see, it is made for round balls. compared to the Uberti, which is much deeper, and it is cut much more similar to the original, and it will take a conical bullet much better. The good news is that an Uberti plunger is interchangeable with one made by Pietta. So you can just buy the plunger and add it to your Pietta revolver if you want to do that, and save the time of converting or altering the original equipment. But let's compare both the Pietta and the Uberti to an original. And as you can see, the original plunger on this model 1860 Armoring is much deeper than either of the reproductions, and I assume that it will not blunt the bullet at all. I mentioned that about the original not blunting at all because let's do this comparison with two Jobson & Dow bullets. The one on the left has been loaded into the chamber using a Uberti plunger, and the one on the right loaded with a Pietta plunger, unaltered. As you can see, they both show some distortion. Seen from the top, it's obvious that both of them bottomed out inside the plunger, although of course the Pietta that was unaltered caused more damage. Now, I've been told by some other folks that their Uberti plungers do not touch the nose of the bullet. So maybe there's some differences in the various Uberti plungers. Another popular revolver is the Remington New Model Army, made by both Pietta and Uberti. I have an Uberti, and as you can see here, the plunger looks like it's made for a round ball. So I made the assumption that it also was made incorrectly. Here you can see that the bullet does not go very deep into the nose of that plunger. So I made an assumption, and as you know what they say about assuming things. But I altered it. It came out very good. You can see how deep the recess is there. And to give you an example of how well it doesn't touch the nose of the bullet at all. The bullet on the right has been loaded into a chamber, then pushed back out, and as you can see, it looks as though it's never been loaded. I made that alteration before I saw an original. And here's a picture of an original plunger from a New Model Army, and as you can see, it looks remarkably like the one in the reproduction. This tells me that original revolvers probably also blunted the nose of sharp conical bullets. I hope that was helpful, and as I said earlier in the video, you'll have to make a decision whether or not going through all that process to protect the bullet is really worthwhile. I'm not sure at this point how much a blunted nose will affect accuracy. It may affect how the bullet looks, but the important thing is how well it shoots, and is it still historically correct. Thanks for watching.